Hi guys, Jack Sasha here, and I just wanted to talk about Blitz today because why not? I'm uh I'm a little bit antsy wanting to produce content simply because because I'm on my break on stream, due to being attacked and botted on Twitch. I had a mental break. I'm having a mental break. I probably could stream like tomorrow rather than a little bit later in the week, but I'm gonna give myself a full week off to fully recuperate. But basically today I wanted to talk about a little bit about water tanks and its balancing and what I think could be changed for the future because we know there is a big issue when it comes to balancing. Uh, I've got a few examples here is when you compare the WZ113 and the WZ111 5A. But obviously there are much bigger issues that stick out like a very big sore thumb, and that is like the Smasher, the Annihilator, and even some upcoming tanks that are looking quite broken, and it's quite an issue. And I think that things need to be changed. Now, the first thing I want to actually talk about here is with these two tanks is Wargaming's Wargaming's ideas of not wanting to nerf premiums. Now, obviously, as a big whale and has purchased a shit ton of things in this game, I'm up to 406 tanks and 1300 days premium. Though, in saying that, this premium has just come with all the bundles I've bought as I've been buying all the tanks. But the issue is they are too scared of nerfing premiums. And as somebody who purchases a lot in this game, I can sort of understand it because you don't want to be buying a tank and then all of a sudden your tank has been nerfed. I had a bad feeling, I felt pretty bad when I had uh, permanently enriched my charioteer because I had permanently enriched this when it first came out. I didn't particularly see it as overpowered. Obviously, it was after a lot of battles, but they nerfed it and they nerfed it for a good reason. But I had permanently enriched it because I really enjoyed its playstyle. The high penetration hash was beautiful with tier 8, and I really liked it. I permanently enriched it and then it got nerfed, and it's like, uh, you don't get anything back for having a permanently enriched tank get nerfed. And to be honest, that brings up another issue I think that needs to change in the game. If you permanently enrich a tank and then it gets nerfed, I think Wargaming should offer a full refund to remove the enrichment. Because for somebody that focuses on a tank, they want to be able to get credits for, say, in the charioteer. Because I love the charioteer still, even after the nerf, I still love the tank. It does still produce good games. It's very fun, and the reason why I originally enriched this is so that I could spam premium rounds. It costs quite a lot of extra credits to spam premium, and the issue with a tank that like the Charioteer or say the T49, which is also permanently enriched. The reason why permanently enriched this is because, well, the credits, like you're going to be spamming 4,800 credits at your enemies with HE. And quite frankly, you don't pay in enough rounds to earn your credits back. So that is one issue to talk about is um, basically, I feel like they should at least offer to be able to unrich your permanently enriched tanks for gold if they nerf it, and only for a limited time. So, for example, they nerfed the Charioteer while it's permanently enriched. They give me a 5-day offer, for example, for getting all my gold back and unrich my tank because it got nerfed. Obviously, if it didn't get nerfed, they wouldn't allow you to have the option, but even if it was just for 5 days to be like, hey, you enriched this tank, it's been nerfed, we'll give you back your gold. But no, they're like, oh, it's your risk, middle fingers to you if you had done it. Which I don't think is a good system, in my opinion. But that kind of links to premium tanks and why I think there's a big issue with premium tanks. And also this so-called collector tank. I have asked a question in the official Wargaming Discord, and it is very liked, so they're probably going to answer it. And I asked, what is the difference between a collector tank and a premium tank? Because you seem reluctant to nerf the Smasher when that's technically not a premium. And you said when when collectors first came out, collector tanks can be nerfed. And one issue about that is they've labeled in a previous Q&A the Smasher as a premium tank even when it's not. They've said, oh yeah, because the Annihilator and Smasher is a premium tank, we do not nerf it because people spend real money on the tanks. And then what was the classification of a collector tank? Because those are tanks that were supposed to be able to be nerfed. Basically, you take a risk on buying the tank. And the big difference is, the main reason why I feel like it's such a big issue is it's almost going to be near impossible to keep this game very closely balanced. There's always going to be much more broken tanks and there's always going to be much more weaker tanks. And here's an example. Because this tank is considered a collector tank, but they still label it as a premium because they don't want to nerf this tank, they're also reluctant to buff a tank too much because they would feel like, oh yeah, if we overbuff the tank, it's gonna be very difficult because now if you overbuff a tank, it's now OP, and they don't want to do that. And that's why you see Wargaming with premiums, whenever they buff a premium, one thing to notice, it's always very small. And when it's not small, they tend to like make a mistake. For example, the Jagdpanzer 88, the Tier 8 Premium, that thing got overcooked for sure. Is it broken in my opinion? So either of the premiums are there. Is it broken? I think the element of its DPM is broken, but the tank itself isn't really, and that's why I think it's not going to get, well, it can't be nerfed. They're premiums. So it's too late anyways. But, for example, talking about the Chinese heavies again, this Tech Tree tank is better in every way of the WZ-111-5A except for Alpha. But the thing is, this tank gets 1,000 more DPM for 40 Alpha difference, and that is not enough. And guess what? This tank is getting another buff next update. Why is this tank just outright out-competing this collector? I feel like the issue with the game is they should be able to nerf premiums, but offer at least some sort of compensation. Obviously, the purchaser is going to be like, hey, you just nerfed my premium. But there needs to be a change, because quite frankly, the balance of this game is an issue. And it means Wargaming is not willing to push buffs for tanks that kind of need buffs. In my opinion, this is my favorite tank. I love playing this tank. Do I think it needs a buff? Slightly. Like, I think it needs a slight buff, but I want Wargaming to be able to overbuff a premium, but be able to nerf it afterwards because they overbuffed it. But because of the whole, oh yeah, somebody bought a premium tank, because it's premium, it can't be nerfed, blah, 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 now your game's broken. And I don't like that concept, because quite frankly, I feel like this could use a bit of a buff, whether it be another 20 alpha buff with no reload change. That would make this tank somewhat closer to this tank in DPM standards, and it would perform a very unique role where this thing slaps hard. Imagine this at 480 alpha. You know what tank does that and is so much better than this tank? You got it. last Christmas, a tank got released, and guess what it was? This tank is got better armor, better speed, and a higher alpha gun by 20. And quite frankly, a tank like the Chinese tank, in my opinion, oops, tier 9, I went to 10, I feel like they could buff this tank. I'm not saying, oh yeah, this video is not to abdicate to buff just this tank. There's a lot of tanks that need adjusting. There's a lot of weak premiums. There's a lot of strong premiums, and I feel like as somebody who's put, I hate to say this, easily over $5,000 in this game, I think premiums should be nerfable. Sure, it's a nuisance to have to give some sort of compensation when they nerf a premium, but in the end of the day, they're still keeping the money from the premium. If they compensate somebody, for example, they nerf my Annihilator, they'd be like, oh yeah, okay, how much money does the average person spend on the Annihilator? Well, there's only been sold once, and it was in a battle pass, and it was for like what, $10? Nothing. If you're gonna do compensation for nerfing this tank, well, we do it to the value of the tank. The value of the tank was roughly $10, so give about 2,000 gold, or something similar that is worth that value. I wouldn't say premium. Premium is got very low value in my eyes compared to other currencies. I think a good compensation for nerfing my Annihilator, because quite frankly, it is a broken tank. I'm doing very well in it. 21 battles, 77% win rate, and I've also played this a lot in game modes, because this is a fun tank to play in game modes. But quite frankly, I'm a 57% win rate player. I should not be getting 77% win rate in an Annihilator. Or if we go to my Smasher, almost 500 battles. I'm at 70% win rate in this tank. Sure, okay, so maybe this is not the best way to judge my win rate, because my 30-day win rate could be 60% or 65%. But a tank to be this much higher than, say, my 30-day win rate, like my 30-day win rate, I think, is nearing 60. It's been improving in the past week, but yeah. I think a tank like this should not be overperforming by that damn much, because if I can get 70% win rate with my career win rate being 57, or my 30-day win rate being around 59, 60, I feel like a new player to the game who just purchased the Smasher, if they are like a 40% player and they're rocking 60% wins in their tank, or 55% wins, that's a big issue, because that is going to cause huge issues. And quite frankly, this is a collector. Nerf the damn Smasher. The Smasher needs it. As much as I love playing it, it's my second most played tank. I have gotten a Rezeni in it. I have literally survived 15 battles in a row in it. It is so broken. But I would say, sure, I spent a lot of money. In fact, to be honest, I didn't even spend that much money on this tank. I didn't buy it when it was in crates. I bought it when it first was released. They sold this tank for like $30. It was nothing when it first came out. But anyways, I think they should be able to nerf not only collector tanks but premiums. But they announce, we will compensate you fairly. And if they're so worried of being like, oh, what would a good compensation be? If you look at the store with an average tier 8, a new tier 8, so let's just say we're not going to go for like an old tier 8. This is an old tier 8. This is actually being sold, in my opinion, quite cheaply. I feel like they should be able to give, say, 10k gold for tier 8 premiums for nerfing them. Okay, maybe not, because you still get to keep the tank. So maybe lower it down. So say 6k gold for nerfing a tier 8 premium. And if it's tier 10, say 10k gold for nerfing a tier 10 premium. Yes, it is a lot of gold you're giving someone. But to maintain balance, that is needed. Secondly, that 10k gold to you is not going to harm you because it's fake money in the end of the day. It's not like you're giving them a refund. You're not. You're giving them in-game currency. You still earn money from that thing. And people are still going to buy the tank after it's nerfed. Maybe not as much, but you're giving a good value. And in my opinion, I feel like that is a must. There are a lot of tanks. I have 406 tanks. I could easily go over a lot of these tanks. Why they need buffs? Why do they need nerfs? Kind of thing. Like, yeah, there are just some tanks that are absolute considered garbage. You don't see, like, for example, do you see an FCM50T in your games? No? That's because it's bad. It's a bad tank. It's a medium tank that just, it's okay. It's not the best, but it could use something. And, like, for example, if I was in, say, a testing team, I was able to test tanks, how would I buff this and not be worried about over buffing it? Is I would allow it to be nerfable. Like, maybe instead of, if they're too scared of giving compensation, then if they nerf a tank, if they buff a tank and it's over buffed, then they have 2 weeks to change it, to revert the change or to lower the buff without it doing anything. Because I think, like, okay, for example, if this tank got buffed to, say, have 260 alpha, because I feel like 260 alpha wouldn't be the end of the world. Maybe it might be overcooked, maybe it might not, but if it is overcooked, I feel like, okay, they buffed it, 260 alpha, all of a sudden the tank is way overperforming, then Wargaming has like 2 weeks when it first is buffed to nerf it back. And I feel like if they did a system like that, where they buff a tank if it's too much, then nerf it again, I feel like that system's good. I feel like that would allow them to be able to buff a lot more premiums that need it. There are premiums out there that really need buffs. And there are premiums that need nerfs, but I feel like the best solution would be a compensation thing, because it would allow Wargaming to buff tanks, and it would allow Wargaming to nerf tanks. Yes, it can be risky sometimes because they might lose a little bit of money if you do give gold compensation, because then that gold can be spent on a premium for free rather than people buying the gold to get another premium. But I feel like it is almost a must. And that's the thing, like, most of your money is going to come from the newer players anyways. Like, sure, a veteran like me is going to spend money, but you've already earned a shit ton of money from just me alone. Like, I've easily put over $5,000. Like, I think that's enough from grabbing from me. It's not going to be the end of the world if you suddenly start giving me gold compensation to get free tanks in the future. I've already compensated you, but for your future customers, buffing and nerfing tanks premiums is a must. I feel like it's a must. It's kind of just self-explanatory. Yes, it would be a risky business decision. Yes, but I think it would, in the end of the day, it would make the game much healthier. And quite frankly, a lot of tanks are already overpriced. Like, you pay for a smasher these days. You're paying for 3% chance. 15 crates, 15,000 gold. That translates to almost 78 New Zealand dollars. And that translates to about $50 USD, which is a lot of money. That's only for 3% chance in 15 crates, which, if you do probability, I'm not going to get into why it's 36%. Or 30, what was it? It's near almost 37% chance with 15 crates. And like, it's easy to say, oh yeah, 15 times 3%, that's not how it works. But basically, you're not even guaranteed the tank, and you're paying almost $80 for not guaranteed the tank. In fact, this is not even half of the odds. For example, 15 crates, even if we were to high roll it, say 15 times 3, even if that math doesn't add up properly, that even if you say, oh yeah, it's 45%, it's not 45%, but even if it was 45% for 15 crates, that's still under 50% for paying almost $80. Your game's already overpriced. I think you can take some losses with this compensation mechanic of premiums. Like, seriously, it's not going to be the most biggest loss in the world. Like, come on. You've got so much more. Like, you're releasing a lot of premiums. With how fast you're releasing premiums, with how much you're testing new premiums and all that kind of stuff, I think you can get away with some compensation to your player base. Because either way, the money is going to be spent in this game. Your game is beloved. It's growing. I can see it grow day by day. In fact, I feel like World Tanks Blitz might even pass World Tanks PC because of its multiple platforms that it's on. Mobile, console, PC. You can get this game on almost any device. And, like, seriously, I feel like you can get away with nerfing your premiums and giving some compensation. I've been Jacksash, and I appreciate you guys watching. Like, seriously, I feel like something needs to change. If you want this message to get across to Wargaming, give it a like. Just comment. Share it to your friends. Like, seriously. I feel like this message needs to be come across. Share it to Meadsy, to Droodles, to a bigger YouTuber, for them to take their own points from this video. Maybe they could improve the points. Maybe you could improve the points. In the comments, go for it. What do you think needs a change? Something needs a change. And I think it's going to have to be some kind of nerfing and compensation mechanic, because sure, like, you could, like, there's a balance. Like, if you say, oh yeah, we're allowed to nerf premiums now, and they say if the consumers, that's not good in my opinion. But still, I feel like there can be something done. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching today. I definitely think there needs to be a change, because I'm scared. The Smash Annihilator is, like, so OP to the point it's gonna take 3 or 4 maybe years to power creep those tanks. And what more OP tank is gonna be out there for the future? With how power creep works, a tank that is considered OP, like in the past, the Chinese Tier 8 Premium, this used to be considered OP. There was a nickname in the Asia server called the Zedong Hammer because it was so broken. But it got power creeped after many years. And just more OP tanks came in the game to replace it. And I feel like that's just going to be a trend. And in my opinion, it's fine to have OP tanks as long as you're willing to nerf them. As long as you're willing to nerf them. Seriously. Think about it. Anyways, I appreciate you guys again for watching, and sorry for rambling on in the end there, but it's just a change that is needed. So anyways, goodbye, peace, see you later, bye.